Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for coming to my dad's 10-year memorial. It's hard to believe that it's been 10 years since we lost him. I see a lot of familiar faces and some new ones today, and I'd like to welcome you all to this concert once again for memorializing my dad. Thank you very much.
Anybody to talk?
Oh, yes. If anyone wants to give a short speech about memories that they have of my dad, you're certainly welcome to come up and talk.
Mark first.
You just volunteered to go first.
I was? Oh, okay.
Arrived at Peabody. And as it turns out, I was his first student on his first day at Peabody. And so we worked together for 2 years, and I have many wonderful memories of the repertoire and things we studied. But most of all, you remember, of course, and I remember his heart. The heart that he gave to his students, the love of music that he showed, and the love of life that he showed to all of us. During one summer, Mr. Ahn and his wife and family had purchased a home, and
No, renting at that time.
it was a lovely home, And Mr. Ahn said, "Well, you should come for a violin lesson, and you should have lunch with our family. But could you mow the lawn first?" So I said I would be.
You never know how to mow.
Right. Yeah, I would be happy to. So I would mow the lawn, and then we would have lunch. And because of Mrs. Ahn's cooking, that was the first time I was introduced to kimchi. And I thought, where have you been all my life? Because it was such wonderful, spicy, tasty, and it keeps me healthy, and I'm still here. So that's just one or two of the memories that I have of Mr. Ahn. Later on, in later years, Mr. Ahn and I and other friends would play chamber music in this room, maybe every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, for several years. And then Mrs. Ahn would fix another one of those lunches that are just fabulous with kimchi. And we would carry on and then break up and come back a week or two later and play more string quartets. So a great honor to have met Mr. Ahn, to have worked with him, and he is in my heart to this day. I can honestly say there's not a day I don't think of Mr. Ahn. I can honestly say not one day that I don't think of Mr. Ahn. So, Mrs. Ahn, thank you for your invitation today. It's a treasure to be here and a pleasure, and thank you.
Mary?
Thank you.
My family and I moved here in November of 2005. And my parents, as all good parents do, they helped me move. They helped us move, or helped setting things up. And the first neighbors who came knocking on the door were Mr. and Mrs. Ahn from next door. So we all came to see who they were. And Mr. and Mrs. Ahn, they talked about the history and where they'd been, and so all of a sudden it came to light that both Mr. Ahn and I spoke German. So all of a sudden, these two people from opposite ends of the earth come together and unite with a common language of music and German. I had studied piano for 12 years, and that was my minor in college. And so it was just a very bonding experience, and they've been the most wonderful neighbors ever. And it will be, I love this home, and I love this house, and Mr. Ahn had said he designed it. for them. So it's really a special place. And I love hearing the music that comes out. If our windows, if both windows happen to be open, when Mr. Ahn was around, there was always music coming out of this home, and you can tell that there was a lot of love here as well. And now it's always fun to see Mrs. Ahn and bring her a couple things up on occasion, but she's also a very quiet neighbor. So there are many days when I wonder, is still something is something around, but in the summertime, she's in the morning before the heat gets too bad, she's always out gardening and making sure her home looks wonderful. And much better than ours, as a matter of fact. So, but it's, we're so blessed to have Mr. and Mr. Ahn, Mrs. and Mrs. Ahn as neighbors. And I'm just sorry I wasn't here to see when the kids were growing up, because I know they told me a few stories that were also very fun, but it's always good. So thank you for being my neighbor.
Thank you. Also, mom came from
My
Lancaster.
mom came from Lancaster.
Yeah, every year. Thank you so much, mom. Live long, please. See you next year too.
That's right. Okay.
I'm Myung-ji. I am the regional chair of KANCC. I wrote my remark in my phone, so I will read it. As a Korean American, I better to read to talk. So, we, as a part of the circle of the Ahn family, are blessed by being here with this unique, distinguished family. In this day, not many people observe the day of their parent, day of passing. But Mrs. Ahn is an exceptional, faithful spouse of the late Professor Ahn. I can, it's okay. So she has observed the day of her dear spouse, untimely departure, Professor Ahn, every year with the full support of her children. Professor and Mrs. Ahn began in the U.S. long ago the work of healing and the reconciliation of Korean suffering caused by the divisions. Even after her husband departed, Mrs. Ahn continually the peace advocacy of her homeland, Korea. She has influenced me and many others to join this homeland work of restoring oneness of divided Korea. She has our admiration and honor as our great leaders. Again, we admire her effort and labor of love to hold this event of commemorating Professor Ahn. What an inspiration for me to read Professor Ahn's memoir, My Sorrow, My Joy. I was deeply touched by his unfortunate childhood experience. But through music, he was able to reconcile and heal that past experience. When I read the book, I saw that the first words were his appreciation to his devoted wife, Jung-hyun, and his children. He wrote that because of them, he could live life fully and meaningfully, with joy and feeling liberated from his childhood experience. I look back to meeting him for the first time. I was so moved by him. His aura was powerful and the archetype of a violinist, wearing glasses, looking so intelligent, yet so full of wisdom in his appearance. He was one of the few people who followed his true heart, longing for idealism and truth in life. He devoted his whole life to music as well as his love of his homeland, Korea, and its peaceful reunifications. I remember one of our Korean-American National Coordination Council's annual assembly in New York. The meeting was opened with the singing the official anthem which Professor Ahn composed. This tune evoked great emotion of all participants to devote our energy for the autonomous rebuilding of our homeland free from the intervention of foreign power. He introduced the anthem and led us to sing. I noticed Professor Ahn was also shedding tears in his lament, Korean tragic conditions. All of us gave a standing ovation in feeling together of our wish for Korean reunification. It was a truly moving moment. As we commemorate his life legacy, his vision will become ours for the peaceful and autonomous one Korea. It is an awesome feeling for us to witness Mrs. Ahn's keeping Professor Ahn's spirit alive in this time. Mrs. Ahn, you have been my mentor with wisdom and courage to live and act for actualizing the peaceful reunification of Korea. I am more than confident that all the Ahn's family are taking the legacy of your parent with you. Thank you for having me in this moment.
Anybody talk? I wanted to introduce my front of neighborhood in the long time. You. Introduce yourself. Okay. He is always helping his wife, and I told them as long as it's a nice neighbor like Mary and him, I can live all alone here. So safe and peaceful. Why don't you talk? You tell their name.
My name is Dennis Rowe.
Dennis.
Yeah. And we live in this neighborhood for some time. And for those that live in this neighborhood, know that it's very easy to live here without really knowing your neighbors at all. You might see them, say hello, but you know. But we met, you know, and we look out for each other. You know, when she had a problem, she comes and asks me, and vice versa. We're very sorry to hear about our husband's death, you know, and we kind of witnessed it because we saw the ambulances and police cars here at the time. So it was really kind of a sorrowful moment for us, but we've lived here, she's still here, and we love her, okay? So I want to thank her for inviting us, you know, and also honor the memory of our husband, okay? Thank you.
Yong's funeral and supporting me, like you know, its neighbor is more closer than his cousin. So I'm really comfortable with Mary and Dennis. So I like you to join us today. Okay, we're gonna play music. Okay, you're gonna come up, everybody.
I'm going to play one movement from that and then two short pieces after that. The next one is Fauré, Gabriel Fauré's Après un rêve, After a Dream. for Debussy, it's called Bonsoir.
So if you knew my dad, you would know that he was a big Beethoven, Brahms, Bach, Mozart kind of guy. In other words, he liked meat and potatoes, right? I mean, it was just like the standards of the repertoire. So first of all, I'd like to thank my sister for playing something French because it kind of mixes up a little bit of the German heavy stuff. But the one composer that he and I both agreed that was wonderful, that was not part of that meat and potatoes crowd, was Antonin Dvorak, who happens to be one of my favorite composers. So in your program, it says Romance for Cello and Piano, but the history of the piece actually was originally a string quartet, which later on in his life, he decided to make it into a violin and piano piece. Then it became a violin and orchestra piece. So somebody made a transcription of it because I always thought, this would probably sound better on the cello than on the violin. So pardon to all the violinists out there, but like I always say, there's always room for cello, right? So, but I kind of, when my mom asked me to play something for my dad's 10th memorial concert, I decided that I wanted to honor him by playing a violin piece and learning it. So last year I started practicing this, and I have to tell you, it took me a year to figure it out. So I hope you enjoy it. It's the Romance in F minor for cello and piano.
we played trio together in Kansas City. I never met Professor Ahn, but just we got to stay here now like 2 days here, and it's every room, every space you go into, it's all these books about music, and it's just filled with music. And I'm just so grateful to be here and share Traumerei with you guys. Thank you.
So about 9 months ago, Sang. Oh, by the way, I want to introduce our trio. This is Sang, Young Lee. She's my dear friend from Kansas City. She is a violinist extraordinaire, and she teaches. How many students do you teach?
About 18.
18. Okay. So, and love playing with her. And this is Soojin Jin, and she is a wonderful pianist, as you can all hear. And how many students do you have?
I have about 10.
10. Okay, slackers. I have 33. So I was going to say that about 9 months ago, Sang approached me and asked me if I would like to be part of a piano trio with her friend. And I was saying like, well, you know what? Piano trios are actually my favorite chamber ensemble to play, because with a pianist, you don't have to argue about who's in tune or out of tune. She's the ultimate authority, right? So it's like, oh, we know, okay, so because if you ever play in a string quartet or any kind, you're constantly arguing, like, you're sharp, you're flat, you're sharp, you're flat. But I'd like to have this kind of, this here. So anyway, 9 months ago, we started rehearsing, and I said, you know, I don't think we should actually play anything until we're ready. I don't like this gig mentality where you just practice just enough to sound ready. We wanted to sound ready, you know. So one of the things that we decided is that we all decided that that was a good idea. So today, right now, is our first public performance of this group. And the only thing is, we still haven't come up with a name for our group. We were kind of, what was our first name? Modu Trio, and then it turned into the Song Trio, and she doesn't like it, so we're like wondering, so if you have any suggestions, and while we're eating, if you can come up with an idea, we'd like to have something Korean or something. They've enjoyed it so much here, they've actually thought maybe the Ellicott City Trio, like that. And so I kind of looked it up, and it isn't taken, so that's actually the leader in the clubhouse right now. So, so the pieces that we've been working on for 9 months is, number one is the first piece you're going to hear is the Archduke Trio by Beethoven. It's one of my favorite pieces in the world, and it's also one of my father's favorite pieces. He actually really, really loved it. And after that, we're going to play the Scherzo from the Mendelssohn D minor trio, which of course he loved as well. But thank you so much for coming, and I hope that you enjoy our performance of the Beethoven and the Mendelssohn. Oh yeah, sure. Lynn wants to say a few words.
Yeah.
I thought of something.
Lynn is the most favorite student. Yong,
I was one of
she
the
studied
most
the
advanced
violin
students.
lesson from 5 or 6 years old, and she is the most smartest student. She reads music so well, so always is loved her.
It was important for me to say read music because I never practiced. But I just wanted to let you know that my parents are here today, and coming from a Korean family, music was very important. All of me and my other two sisters did take lessons. One of my sisters took clarinet, I think, for maybe a month or two, and then that just sort of fizzled out. And then my other sister took piano lessons, and the first teacher was maybe 20 minutes from home near the Johns Hopkins campus. And then after she outgrew that teacher, we picked one that was in closer to home in Towson, about 10 minutes away. And then when my parents picked Professor Ahn, he lived a whopping 45 minutes away from home. And I continued with him from the age of 5 until I had to go to college and left. But I just, thinking back, I think that investment of money and time that my parents put into me to let me study under Professor Ahn really proves that I was probably their favorite daughter. And then I just wanted to say that, listening to this beautiful music with its imagery and passion and romanticism, I really feel like Professor Ahn is here with us today. And I want to thank his family for being such a big part of my family for as long as I can remember.
She came from, this event came from New Mexico. For today. So, Mr. Ahn is the most fortunate person. Everybody loved him so much, So, and then I like to, Dr. Shin or Dr. Kim is my elementary school alumni and came from Philadelphia. He is also a doctor of engineer, but is also musician. Next time maybe I will ask him to play and his wife. If you wanted to speak a little bit. He's my elementary school's friend,
Yes, being an elementary alumni, it was 1947.
Oh my God.
That's
I was in
Yeah, the 1947,
so long time. And fortunately, I was able to, we were able to see each other just when a couple of years ago. And then since then we've been communicating each other. And,
go to Philadelphia Orchestra.
Yeah, right. Yeah, whenever she comes to Philadelphia for orchestra concert, she invited me. So I was pretty glad to accept that. Plus, had a pleasure meeting her daughter, Anna Marie, and today again I feel that the kind of family atmosphere here, such a musical. I'm so impressed, and I'm hoping that he keeps inviting me.
I will. And live long.
Okay, here's my wife.
Right, it's Dr. Shin too. Yeah.
I tried the saxophone for 10 years. Still, I'm very beginner.
Next time you two guys pray, okay?
We play together in one of the Korean band. But it was really impressive, trio here, and I think he's doing very well. Okay. Nice to see it. Thank you.
And we also have 50 years of friendship called the Birthday Club. Dr. Shin, Dr. John won't be able to come here today, but I miss Dr. Yen so much. And here, Mrs. Yen is here. Can you speak a little bit?
Well, I'm probably make a fool out of myself, but I'm very moved today. Wants to tell you a little bit about my personal experience with dance, which made my whole family's life would have been very different. Certainly would not be as rich and enjoyable. When I was in Korea during the war, I think it was 1951 or 2, we had a little refugee set up in a little island called Yong in Busan for a high school, junior high school, and we had classes in a tent. At that time, I was with a whole bunch of other giggly girls, and one day we had a music class, and in walked in this handsome teacher with lots of wavy hair, and that was Mr. Ahn. And that's the first time we had encounter with Mr. Ahn. And one of the students was so thrilled and asked him, "Sonsang-yin, please play violin," and so on. Anyway, that was a long time ago, and after we grew up, when I came to Silver Spring, and I was already married and everything, my husband, Louis, was a very avid chamber music player, and he had many friends. One of them was Henryk who was a cellist, and he said, "You know, I met a very fine violinist. He's Korean. His name is Yong." And well, I didn't know who that could be because there weren't that many mature violinists in those days. It was very early. And since Hank played chamber music with Louis, they decided to invite Mr. Ahn once and play together. And of course, it turned out to be he's not an ordinary chamber music player, but he, Mr. Ahn. And so played chamber music with Mrs. Ahn, with children, small children, and I normally was just about like a year and a half baby. And what was remarkable about Ahn's was not only the beautiful music that just house was filled whenever they are around. Music was filling our entire lives. Also, Mrs. Ahn treated us to incredible, unforgettable meals. And funny thing is, my husband likes to crack little wisecracks. And once Mr. Ahn said, "You know, my wife is a good cook." And Louis said, "Prove it." So since then, she has been proving, and after one trial, my husband said, "Needed more proving." And so she has been proving ever since, and I'm so glad you're still doing that. And Mr. Ahn, you know, he's a world famous violin maestro, teacher, and my husband and my two sons were anyway, the second one was a violin player, had the honor of studying with Sonsang-nim, and we respect him, and we had incredible musical parties. New Year's parties in a church in Glenelg at the Tatiana Pat's church house. And every New Year Eve we got there, and at Sonsang-nim would have, Sonsang-nim means teacher, had all this program stuck around the church, because Pat's had converted the church, old real church, with a cemetery, as a resident, open studio kind of a resident. The church was converted because he was an architect and had a studio, and Tatiana Patz was a potter, and she had a studio right in the church, and then they lived upstairs. So he had all these music programs, who plays what, next is who, and so on. And so everybody was playing, and New Year's Eve at 12 o'clock we would break and have a just incredible feast, and then play on until 3 or 4 in the morning. And well, anyway, I don't want to bore you with a lot of my stories, but I just want you to know that it's been a very emotional experience. Now that Sonsang-nim and my husband are both gone, and they're, by the way, very good friends. They got along very well and played well, and Louis respected Sonsang-nim, of course, for what he is. And I think also Sonsang-nim liked Louis and respected him for what he was. And I think that the two buddies, along with all the other music friends, probably having a great time right now. Somewhere up there. Thank you.
Wife married. So about our birthday, 50 years party. how is the gourmet? We eat so much food, good food.
I don't know. I don't want to talk about eating. But I like to talk about
She's a,
Mr.
it's
Ahn.
not only good cook, she's a gourmet cook, world top cook. She is to prove it too.
The teacher, the McDonald's.
She's a medical doctor. Doctor, she knows a medical doctor.
One I remember is that when I started bringing Lynn to Mr. Ahn when she was 6 years old. And I don't think we missed much, right? Just until she went to college. And every weekend there's a continuous. And my husband said, and I complained because I was busy, with the other two kids. And he said, why don't you find somebody in the Peabody, in the close by? I said, no way. I cannot break that, bond between two. And my daughter was very happy. And the other day, she said that she's practicing viola again. And yeah. So it's a forever bond we have.
And I thank you so much. I think we can feed 100 people. I think we prepared so much food. Roast beef prepared always, June, second son. And the japchae made Reverend Joe. And Mrs. Kim made kimchi. I made kimchi. Mrs. Shin brought so much food. And Mary brought this fruit salad. So I think you have to eat a lot, otherwise nobody can